There is a moment when words are no longer the main tool of influence of a man. This is when its silent and dense energy begins to fill the spaces previously occupied by explanations, justifications, and emotional reactions. She perceives something different, not in her gestures, but in their absence. You are calm. Calm in a way that does not seek control, no affection, no validation. And this silence begins to provoke in it mysterious discomfort. She doesn't understand why, but she feels that you have changed. Your presence is no longer a proposal, it is a statement. An invisible field begins to form around it, a field that issues authority, not a needy. You do not shout, do not try to convince, do not react to the provocations. You just are. And this simple being imposes respect where before there was only the power game between desire and manipulation. His absence of reaction becomes his most powerful response. What was once dispute for attention now becomes silence between two worlds. And she feels. He feels that something in it begins to deconstruct himself before someone who does not ask, does not beg, and do not retreat. The vibrational field begins to issue a new frequency, a frequency of order. She feels that near you can no longer play as before, and in the face of this energy, laughter becomes restless. The charm becomes hesitation. The certainty becomes doubt. It gets confused because something in you no longer desired, and that's what disarms you. As much as you try to understand, your body responds first. She feels a mixture of respect and fear. Respect for realizing that you have left the reach of the ordinary. Fear for not knowing how to control it anymore. The rupture began. And you live it with tranquility. It is no longer necessary to prove its value, show presence, or seduce with strategies. Now you move with the certainty of who is whole, without begging, without hiding, without reducing. Because those who hold their own seed holds the axis itself, and whoever holds the axis itself becomes a center. And when the man becomes a center, everything around begins to spin in silence. To her, you feel something is wrong. Wake up tired, eager, look in the mirror, and no longer recognize the strength that one day has already carried. It is surrounded by distractions, instant desires, addictions that drain your energy. And deep down, you know, the problem is not just physical, it is spiritual. Here begins the rupture. My name is Laert, and this is the gods of SEMEN, the only channel that will reveal you the truth that no one has the courage to tell you. Your strength is what you do not deliver. With years of experience in seminal retention, spirituality, and male development, I show you how to recover focus, presence, virility, and vibrational mastery that have been stolen. Seminal retention is not just about sex, it is about power. Mental, psychological, biological, and spiritual power. It is about recovering control of one's soul in a world that tries to buy your attention and sell your weakness. If you feel that you are drifting without energy, without purpose, and living as a spectator of your own life, here is your point of turning. Because what you will learn in this video can completely transform your journey as a man. Stay with me until the end, because powerful revelations await you. And if this message has already touched something inside you, you are now subscribed to the channel. Activate the bell of notifications and helps us hit the goal of the 20,000 subscribers. Join this movement of men who are awakening to the real. The revolution has started and starts within you. The game changes when desire retracts itself, not because you repressed you, but because it has transmuted it. The fire that once sought bodies now seeks souls. She realizes this in her gaze. There is no hunger, no urgency. There is presence. You don't want her to master or to fill a void. You want connection or nothing. And this or nothing echoes like a sentence. Because most women are used to men who always want something. But the man who no longer wants the body breaks the mirror in which she was admired. It requires something that it does not always have: depth. Seminal retention is more than discipline. It is a pact with the invisible. And this pact makes you stop chasing sensations and start sustaining vibration. It changes everything. Its focus becomes precise, silent, lethal. You see through the game, through the smile, through emotional dance. And she feels she lost something that was her once: control. When you realize this, she tests. Test your patience, your reaction, your firmness. She wants to see if there is still a trace of the old servant of desire inside. But you no longer play where she reigned. You are not part of the emotional court that lived around female validation. You became a firm land, a space where she no longer knows how to manipulate. And so, she observes. She says she doesn't care, but follows her steps with her eyes. The silence you carry is not absence. It is density. Its lack of reactivity is not coldness. It is domain. And even when she pretends indifference, her eyes betray the truth. Something in her was touched. Something in it wonders if you are still a man or have become a symbol. Because deep down she understands. You no longer belong to the territory of desire. You built another altar. And this altar, not the idolater. When a man plunges into retention and transcends instinct, his language changes. And it is not something he needs to announce. It is the body that speaks. Silence becomes more eloquent than any argument, and she feels it even before thinking about it. The words that previously worked as bridges now sound like noise, because what emanates on you no longer depend on speeches, but frequency. Your vibration does not seek to please, seduce, or provoke. It communicates presence, mastery, and a type of power that does not require performance. The body begins to emit old codes. Your posture, your breath, your absence of haste. Everything in it records that you are no longer trying. And when a man stops trying, he begins to be. And this being disarms, because she can no longer identify the rules. There is no strategic complement, no calculated removal. There is only one vibration that penetrates it in silence, and that unbalances it. Her desire is confronted by something she can't control, a man she no longer wants. And in view of this, your eyes oscillate. Now she surrenders, sometimes protects herself, because something in you is magnetic, but at the same time, dangerous. She begins to hesitate. The provocations lose the effect. The insinuations hit an invisible wall. And every of his gesture, every silent silence, every look that remains, reveals a man who is not negotiating presence for affection. You don't need her to understand. And that's exactly why she feels. Fear begins when she realizes that she has lost power. Because those who do not want cannot be possessed. And who cannot be possessed scares. His silence, previously seen as disinterest, is now interpreted as an invisible force. Something inside her begins to retreat, not for lack of attraction, but for excessive reverence. She is no longer before an ordinary man. It is facing a mystery, and mysteries do not dominate. You are no longer the cool face. This mask fell along with the need to be accepted. Now you walk like one who keeps something sacred. Your energy is not available for emotional bargain or predictable dynamics. What pulsates in you is code, not need. And she feels. He feels that he is facing a man who renounced seduction as a tool and chose silence as armor. You don't hide, but you don't offer yourself either. You just are. And this activates ancient memories in the feminine soul. Memories of men who existed not to seduce, but to protect, keep, support. The active seminal retention forgotten archetypes. The warrior, the priest, the prophet, the guardian of portals. You start to vibrate like a mission, not in search of pleasure. This celibacy is not denial of sex. It is the consecration of energy. And it echoes in a plane that it does not understand with the mind, but feels with the body. The vibrationally celibate man becomes indecipherable. And all that is indecipherable attracts. Not because it is mysterious on purpose, but because it no longer depends on the exposure to assert itself. Other men feel this. Some try to imitate, but the vibration does not copy. It is a consequence. And women, even if they deny, feel. They feel that there is something rare there, something that cannot be accessed with beauty, sex, or manipulation, something that only manifests itself in the face of respect. The world begins to perceive. You become a threat to the system that feeds on male weakness, but it also becomes an answer to those who are lost, because the man who retains his seed attracts the eyes of chaos and order. It bothers those who live on the surface, but inspires those seeking depth. And that makes you a mirror where many see themselves, and few support the reflection. There is a point where conversations change their tone. Her words can no longer touch you as before. She speaks, but feels that something in you hear from a higher, farther place, as if his eyes crossed the mask and see the structure behind the smile, the argument, the provocation. You don't react, just observe. And this observation, calm and relentless, makes her realize you really see her, not the character, not the performance, the essence. And this is uncomfortable for those who have always had the control of the narrative. The touch also changes. It is no longer sexual, it is energetic. You no longer play for pleasure, but to communicate something. Every gesture of yours is a silent message that says, I know what you carry. This is more than any intimate scene, because now your body is not an end, but a channel. And she realizes that, by her side, there is no room for games. There is only presence. And in this presence, she trembles. She wants you to explain, wants you to go back to the known territory, where man asks, wants, begs. But you just watch. Not with disdain, but with compassion, as if you understand it, but it does not go back. His movements reveal a man who is not there to conquer, but to fulfill a mission. Every attitude, every absence, every silence reveals it. You are not trying to be different. You have become. And at this point, even her look begs, be normal again. Not because she really wants to, but because it's hard to love a man who no longer needs to be loved to exist. You became a break, a sign that there is something beyond the dance of desire, a living reminder that the true male does not bow or sell itself. He just walks, until the world realizes that he no longer belongs to him. Do you feel there is something inside you dormant? Greater potential, a spiritual force that has not yet been activated. The book, Alchemy of the Gods, is not just a reading, it's an initiation. In it, you will deeply dive into sacred themes such as Kundalini, crystalline oil, and true spiritual liberation, exploring ancient codes that have been hidden from humanity for centuries. This knowledge has the power to transform your mind, refine your body, and release your soul. It is available in physical format for collectors, digital for immediate reading, and audiobook to listen wherever you want. Whatever your style, you have access to wisdom that can light your journey from the inside out. Click now on the link in the description or the fixed comment and take the first step towards your true divine nature. But first of all, I have a novelty that you didn't expect. If you are on the way to seminal retention and want to unlock your vital energy clearly, discipline and direction, audiobook SEMEN Retention. Success Path is the missing key. It is more than 2 hours of deep and straightforward content over the 6 pillars that support the practice of retention: focus, transmutation, emotional mastery, spiritual magnetism, purification cycles, and vibrational language. All of this in an easy-to-hear format where and whenever you want. What's more, when purchasing audiobook, you get 30% off exclusive in the ebook, The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with 20 pages of advanced techniques, vibrational balance exercises, and practices to anchor your life purpose with strength and presence. Everything you need to get out of stagnation and enter into a state of power and total clarity. There comes a point where your simple presence no longer excites, reveals. The look that once generated desire now arouses restlessness, because the energy you carry does not feed her ego, but exposes what is behind it. She feels that without knowing how to name it. Something in you judges what is in it, and it's not your words, it's your silence. It is the frequency of your body, which now issues a kind of invisible sentence, not by arrogance, but by purification. You have become a mirror, and it hurts who has built yourself to seduce, not to be seen. Your retention transforms you into a vibrational field that confronts. There is no more compliment, no validation, no delivery to the game. And that generates tension. Women who live in the ego, who have learned to use their body as power, feel naked before you. Because what was before weapon now has no effect. You do not react. You just hold. And this livelihood breaks narratives. She is forced to face herself, not because you have corrected it, but because your energy silences the device. Your gaze says, "I know who you are," when no one sees. And that destabilizes it. Retention triggers a mirror in her, one that she avoided for years. She looks, but no longer recognizes herself. Because before you, what is built collapses, what is character falls apart, and what is true cries. You became the confrontation she didn't ask for, but her soul needed. There is no more safe place near you. There is only transparency. And transparency, when he finds no readiness, becomes pain. You are not the man she wanted. You are the reflection she feared. And that is spiritual. When the woman starts to push you away, it's not because you have lost value. It's because she lost control. Her mind can't stand the idea of no longer being able to manipulate her gestures, her answers, her presence. You have become a variable that it cannot predict, a mystery that does not react to touch, drama, game. And in view of this, it goes into an internal collapse. The fear of no longer controlling you dresses in conflict. It begins to create tense situations for no apparent reason. Small provocations, demands, distortions. But behind it, there is only a desperate attempt to break the mirror you represent. The silence you keep it hurt more than any. Word, because he says, "I won't come back." And this silence is unbearable for those who are trained to be the center of male attention. She tries to relive her old self, trigger emotional memories, play fragile points. She wants you to react, to show that she still cares, that she is there as before. But you don't come back, because what she tries to wake up has died. And what was born in its place is not manipulable. It's firm. And this firmness becomes wall, a wall that she can no longer climb. Her resistance is not disinterest. It is admiration disguised as self-defense. She wants you, but doesn't know how to deal with what you have become, because you are no longer an emotionally available man and became a guardian of himself. She tries to push him away, not for contempt, but by fear. Fear of not knowing how to be seen without the makeup of control. You have become a sacred field, and who enters the sacred field without purification feels pain. That's why she pushes you, because being too close to you forces her to transform. And not everyone is ready for it. There is a war that happens behind the scenes, and few realize when it changes sideways. When you begin to retain your essence, something in the spirit world shakes. Spirits who once fed on their weakness come to despair because they have lost access to your field. It is not she who misses the old you. It is the forces that used her who lost her entrance. And that is real. Her seduction no longer captures you. Beauty does not hold you. The touch does not dominate you. Because your vision is clean. And who sees the soul does not bow to the fetish. You see it as essence, not as an instrument. And that breaks the spell. The look that once begged possession is now seen as a search for salvation. And the desire that previously burned as a prison is now read as a silent scream of someone who was trained to seduce, but not to be loved. Sex becomes a veil, and you refuse to cross. Not because the body is not beautiful, but because you know that crossing this veil without spiritual covenant is to throw yourself again into the cycle of energy servitude. And you have already left him. Now you are on the truth plan. And the truth does not lie down with the illusion. Its incorruptibility becomes a shield. She may try, the world may suggest, the senses may beg, but her vision doesn't give in, because it is no longer carnal, it is spiritual. You see what's behind, and this view cannot be negotiated. This is what makes the spirit world tremble, because you have become inaccessible to the forces that control ordinary men. You stopped being a fertile field for the mistake and became a sentry against him. And temptation has only power over those who still have loopholes. You no longer have. And so, now, she is the one who trembles. The day comes when she understands. Her body no longer opens doors. No matter the gesture, the pose, the attempt, what worked with everyone fails with you, because you no longer inhabit the field of desire. You inhabit the mission field. Her look, once sharp and accurate, slip into your presence as if she hit an invisible wall. She tries to tease. It uses silence, absence, sensuality, drama. But you don't respond. And this no answer is not contempt. It is transcendence. You've been through there. It has already been injured, seduced, fueled by compliments and tamed by touches. But now you are on another plan. Your energy creates a filter that only clean souls can cross. You do not reject, you purify by presence. And who carries a lie, vanity, or manipulation, retreat. Because close to you, everything that is false shouts, even your absence weighs. She feels when you are no longer accessible, even if you are in the same room. The field has changed, and she knows. You know you have lost something you don't know how to name. He lost access, lost power, lost the right to play with something sacred. And the sacred, when closed, becomes a memory that burns. You did not disappear for pride, not even for anger. You have been collected, taken from the fire line by larger hands. Because your mission is not to be available, it is being positioned. God collects those that the world cannot value, and collect not to hide, but to preserve. You now walk with another frequency, and this frequency can no longer be touched by impure hands. You have become untouchable, not out of hardness, but for holiness, and holiness requires distance. You can keep living as you are, tired, lost, stuck in cycles that weaken you, or you can choose to wake up. The truth is that as long as you waste your energy, it will continue to be controlled. But the day you decide to retain, the world will start to feel your presence. The choice is now. Do not postpone your transformation. Leave your like, subscribe to the Gods of SEMEN channel, and watch the next recommended video. It may be the missing step.